Hey Clive, what's going on,
Hey,
man?
how's it going?
Pretty good. Let me just adjust the volume here a little bit. How's your day been so far?
It's been going good, going good. We're doing some potty training right now, so there's been some spills, but other than that, everything's good.
All right, solid, man. So for this assessment, this will probably take between like 30 and 45 minutes or so. Basically, it's kind of like broken down into three parts. So the first two parts we'll do here on video, and then the last part is kind of like the last part of the movement assessment, and I'll kind of explain how that happens.
Okay.
So initially, kind of what we're going to do on camera is first just talk through some of the logistical stuff. So we'll discuss your like training schedule, equipment access, training history and preferences. Kind of talk through some of those like bigger picture pieces of the puzzle, so I know how to like outline the entire program. And then from there, we'll take you through the first part of the movement assessment. So what we'll do here on camera, we'll mainly be looking at your like flexibility and mobility. So I'll be walking you through some like movement screens that really all you need is just a wall, your body, and an area to move around. And then the last part will be a bit more of like performance oriented testing. So looking at kind of like strength and endurance and stability in a couple different areas. And how that'll happen is I've already kind of created a performance testing sheet for you. It's just a Google sheet. I'll walk you through it, like the tests and their purposes here on video, and
Hmm.
then I'll email it to you afterwards. That way you can get them done throughout the weekend or whenever you don't have to like rush to get them done.
Sure.
And then as you upload your results in the sheet, it'll populate on my end. I'll be able to see that. And then that'll inform kind of how I program some of the main training lifts as well as a bunch of like the rehab work. That all makes sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. And then at the end, I'll kind of outline the overall process of like the programming and coaching, kind of what you can expect, what I'm thinking of for this first training block, and then we'll take it from there. Sound good, man?
Yeah, for
Cool.
sure.
So, as far as like your schedule in an average week, like how many days do you like prefer to train, and what would be like pretty consistently doable for you on a weekly basis?
Yeah. So I was talking with my wife about that. I think I typically like 5 days, but right now 4 days would be the ideal outlook for a week.
Okay, awesome. So we'll definitely do like a 4 day per week training split. Um, how I usually kind of set the overall week up is we'll have several like main training days where the focus is on lifting and that sort of thing.
Cool.
I usually will also include some like rehab and mobility work in those days, either as like a pre-lifting kind of like movement prep series
Sure.
or mixed in with the actual like main lifts as supersets for like non-competing movements. Um, on top of those main training days, I also do typically like to program 1 or 2 sessions that are just like lower level, like rehab mobility focus that you don't like need to go in and designate like half hour or an hour to do. They're pretty quick. Usually you can get through it in like 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
Would it be doable to include 1 or 2 of those sessions aside from those 4 days, or is 4 days like the max you can do in total?
No, I think if if that fifth and sixth day would be something that I could potentially do at home,
Hmm?
and my ability to add time is going to become a lot easier once some of my equipment comes in.
Mhm.
So yeah, I could see that being doable for sure.
Okay, awesome. So in that case, we'll set it up as like the 4 main training days. I'll make sure to include probably a little bit more rehab and mobility work on those days so we can get the majority of the work in on
Sure.
those days that you have a good chunk of time to. And
Yeah.
then I'll add 1 or 2 more like secondary or like optional rehab mobility sessions. That way, if you
Yeah.
have the time that week to get to them, feel free. If not, not the end of the world because we have the work kind of baked into the 4 main training days.
Sure.
Cool.
That sounds good. Yeah, I can.
Awesome.
Yeah, after discussion with the wife, yeah, if those 4 days we're already determined, like I'm allocating, a large chunk of time to it, so that sounds good for me.
With those 4 main training days, what do you have any preferences as to, like training split or how we structure the actual like workouts those days?
No, not really. Throughout the years of training, I've kind of done multiple layouts where whether it was, kind of full body or like kind of like a standard bodybuilding split or just kind of isolated those
Mhm.
muscle groups. I'm completely open to however it fits best.
Okay.
I yeah,
All right, cool.
flexible in that
Kind of
sense.
like generally speaking, I like to try to have my clients hit either like each muscle group from a bodybuilding perspective or each movement pattern from more of like a strength and performance perspective twice per week. Um, so
Yep.
there's several different ways that we can break that up into like a 4-day training split. We could either do like upper lower twice per week. We could also do like a full body push and full body pull twice a week. Whereas basically like a full body push would be more of like quads and then like chest, upper body
Sure.
pressing, tricep work. And then full
Sure.
body pull would be like hinging, kind of posterior chain, and then like back and bicep type work.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
or we can split up into like a 4-day per week full body where we hit the entire body and like the main movement patterns each day. Obviously on a much lower like volume per session
Sure.
way,
Sure.
but do any of those kind of strategies really stick out to you as to what you would prefer?
Maybe the secondary that push and pull split.
Mhm.
I think that that could be beneficial recovery wise, being that I'm kind of not focusing lower and then focusing upper, and even though I feel like I'd recover decently, I think that would be maybe the best for me.
Yeah, that's one that I've been liking using lately, especially for the clients of mine that do have back pain, because you're still like kind of directly or indirectly training the lower back each day,
Yes.
but the
Yes.
like amount of work you're doing in a single session is quite a bit lower. So it's just a nice way to break it up.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, sweet. And then, like, obviously, our main goal initially is get you back into consistent training, start alleviating some of like the symptoms and pain that you're dealing with. And then from there, like, what are your main like training goals? Any like specific lifts you want to really pursue, like strength, hypertrophy? How do you want to kind of set this up from that sort of end?
Yeah. Uh, You know, I really like the strength focused work. That's always been the part that drives me in the gym is
Hmm.
feeling strong. I mean, I do like the hypertrophy aspect of it as well. So I've always geared myself to really hammering down. I guess a lot of my focus whenever I go into the gym is
Hmm.
to do my main lift first, spend a lot of my energy there, and then just sort of accessory and hypertrophy work afterwards. So I think that's primarily what drives me, and then, whatever muscle building that we can kind of tag along in the midst of everything, that would be my ideal strategy, I guess.
Okay, perfect. So how we'll set up the session, like each training session overall, is we'll probably start with like a little, like I said, rehab mobility kind of movement prep
Yep.
series. From there, we'll move into like kind of like a main lift for on the pressing day, like or the push day, lower body push and then upper body push. So some sort of like squat, split squat variation, and then
Cool.
some sort of like upper body pressing variation. And then from there, we'll kind of round out the session with some more accessory, like hypertrophy focused work. And then the full body pull days will be very similar. You'll have like a main kind of hinge or posterior chain movement, a main upper body pulling movement, and then hypertrophy focused accessory work. Sound good?
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Um, yeah, moving on to equipment, like what sort of equipment would you have regular access to for those 4 main training sessions?
Yeah, so I go to a local UFit right now
Mhm.
just because it's the closest and easiest on my route home. And they have a decent they have racks so I can squat from, benches, deadlift platforms, all your standard, dumbbells up to 90. Treadmills, all the tons of cardio equipment, and
Mhm.
then your machines, a lot of Cybex machines, so a lot of pressing machines, some shoulder machines. Unfortunately, and I've been wanting to try this forever. They don't have like a GHD or like any sort of like what's a reverse hyper or anything like that,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Do they
But
have like
you
a
get-
45-degree like hip or back extension machine or no?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Okay,
do.
okay, that works.
And it's adjustable. I think it can get down to 30 degrees or so.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. Okay.
uh, they do have that. Tons of cables, so any sort of
Hmm.
extension work or pulling work, um, lat pull downs, rows, um, a large turf area with some
Hmm.
mobility work, whether that's like a foam roller or some medicine balls, some kettlebells, some yoga balls. They have a decent selection, just not kind of like that really specialized
Mm,
equipment
okay.
in terms of free barbells.
Gotcha. For other lower body like machines, do they have like anything like a belt squat, leg press, hack squat, anything along
Hack
those lines?
squat, yes. They do have it's not like a traditional leg press where,
Hmm.
you'd be really seated low down to the ground and pressing
Like
upward.
45 degrees.
Yeah, it's not like that, unfortunately. It's more of just like
Is it like the horizontal one?
more of a
Ah,
horizontal. Yeah, I know. It's,
not the end of the world, but definitely not my preferred style of
oh
leg
no, me
press.
neither. Me neither.
Okay. Any belt squat or pendulum squat, or is like the hack squat and leg press the main like squatting machines?
Yeah, it's just that hack squat. Um, yeah, and just kind of some I don't know if you've been to a UFIT before, but it's geared towards like, you know, just not maybe people that are like there for true performance, but more so just
Mhm.
like general fitness.
Yeah.
It's kind of that outlook. Um, so yeah, that's what. But I mean, there's always a chance that I could look into. There's an EOS that just recently opened up.
Hmm.
It just can get a little packed right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I were to like adjust the schedule where, because they have an array of a lot of equipment,
Okay.
so I could always go and take a look over there to see what they have as well.
Yeah, for sure. We'll structure like the first part of the program so that we're using the equipment that you have at the UFIT, and then if you do like check that gym out, end up like going there or anything like that, or just have access to other equipment, we can always retool that and then adjust based upon that.
Sure.
Does the UFIT have any like kettlebells, bands, anything like that, man?
Kettlebells, yes, they don't go, but up to maybe 20 kg.
Okay.
Um, and then in terms of bands, yeah, you can go up to the desk and ask for bands. Um, but other than that, no. But I
Okay.
mean, my order hasn't shipped out yet, and
Mhm.
I could always, order some bands too to have so that I don't have to rely on
Mhm.
UFit per se.
Yeah, no worries. Actually, what I'll do is I'll send over um, a set of bands from like Amazon or some other site that like I recommend because
Oh, sure,
um,
sure.
yeah,
Send it, yeah.
bands can be a great tool if you like use them correctly, and I often use them for either like secondary sort of variations of bench, squat, hinge, stuff like that, and for some like accessory work as well.
Sure.
Um, so I'll definitely send you a pair of those. I'll just have you shoot me over in a text your like home address. That way I can just have it mailed to you directly. Sound good?
Oh, okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Okay.
Um, so that's most of that. And then as far as like your own experience with lifting, do you have a lot of experience with using things like tempo, RPE, reps and reserve, anything like that, Clive?
Yeah, yeah. So
Awesome.
I've done a lot of tempo work.
Hmm.
I've done a lot of RPE, reps and reserve. I was kind of dabbling with.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I do have some experience with it. RPE, I've done a lot of, so I'm trying
Okay.
to figure out,
Yeah.
what my estimated exertion is per that intensity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool. For like intensity prescription, would you prefer that I use RPE or reps in reserve? Obviously, they're like very similar, nearly like interchangeable, so either way is fine.
Yeah, either way is fine for me. Whatever you prefer to set it up, I could. easily have like a week or two adjustment period and
Mhm.
easily
Okay.
get back into or either go either direction.
Okay, easy enough. Um, and then as far as like your own training preferences, any sort of like lifts that you really enjoy, definitely want in the program to some degree. And then on the other hand, like any lifts that you really hate and like don't want to see in your program at all.
No, I mean, I definitely, I've always been, a lover of the squat.
Mhm.
Squatting is, man, I always loved to strive to have a big squat. Deadlifting, I've always really loved just because I felt really strong in that position. I that must come from my time working outside at Yardco,
Mhm.
lifting heavy boulders and feeling invincible at that time.
Mhm.
I mean, no lifts that I could say that I hate. Let me think here. I guess you could say that I've only grown to dislike the squat and deadlift just because of pain.
Yeah.
It's really it.
Okay.
But
All right. Totally fair, man.
yeah, no, in terms of like, exercise selection,
Mhm.
no, you just throw whatever you want at me.
All right. Perfect. And then as far as like other preferences, with training for strength, do you prefer any specific style of like set and rep structure, whether it's like we do several straight sets of like lower rep training, or we have some sort of like top set, back off set structure, or anything like that?
Hmm. Um, that's a good one. I guess I guess maybe a top set initially and then sort of my back down work afterwards.
Hmm.
Um, I think I've been more successful in that instance.
Cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, and probably because of my own hand, I've never had good like endurance.
Hmm.
So that third or fourth set of five at whatever 80% or 85%, that'll get me. So
Fair
yeah, I
enough.
prefer that top set and then back down.
Okay, cool. I'm a really big fan of that sort of set and rep structure or loading structure for strength work for sure, just because it gives you a really nice blend of the heavier loading with the top set, so you get the skill and like good strength stimulus from that set, and then the back
Yes,
off sets allow you to work at either slightly higher rep ranges to still build strength and hypertrophy, or same rep range but just with lower loads to work on like speed, force production, and like
sure,
movement efficiency, but without as
sure.
much fatigue as if you just did like a bunch of really heavy top sets.
Yes,
So
yes,
yeah, I really am a big fan of that sort of stuff. Probably how I'll structure that in the beginning is we'll probably start while we're easing back into like regular training. We'll probably start with a top set at like a certain number of reps per set. And
sure.
then for the back off work, we'll probably just have you take a certain amount of load off the bar, like 10, 15%, something like that. And then most likely keep with the same number of reps.
Sure,
That way, like you'll still get the practice. It'll be slightly heavy, but not like near max or anything like that.
sure, sure.
And then as we get further and further along with this and the back's feeling better, we're slowly going to start moving those top sets to like lower rep sets in the 1 to 5 rep range. Um, and then from there, I'll often do like for some of the powerlifters I program for, they might have a top set of like 1 or 2 reps, and then a back off set of like 4 to 6 reps, and
Sure.
then that's kind of like an intermediate set, and then a further back off set at that same higher rep range,
Hmm.
and then just focusing on like speed and power. So we'll obviously play around with this. We'll see how well you respond and kind of try these different parameters, and
Sure.
then whatever ends up working best and you enjoy the most, that's kind of how we'll kind of go with that.
Cool.
Um, for the hypertrophy work, do you have any big preference as to either doing like higher volumes with lower intensities, or like vice versa, lower volumes, higher intensities, anything like that? Or like can go with whatever we end up doing.
I I can go with what I guess. I guess my my standard thought process on it has always been you know, medium to lower intensity with
Mhm.
higher volume, I guess sort of just chasing or with higher yeah, volume, so chasing that pump essentially.
Mhm.
Um yeah, I'm but yeah, I would say that I hope I'm not making this too hard on you where I'm just like
No.
saying like do whatever you want. But um yeah, I guess I generally have always done sort of that 8 to 12 or 8 to
Mhm.
15 rep range whenever it's been that accessory work generally.
Okay. All right. Awesome, man. Um, So that's most of like the logistical stuff. And then when we're kind of going through these assessments, I do also like to start mapping out some kind of like more objective goals. Usually what we'll try to do is iron out a goal for like end of the first training block, so like the first month, and then like a 3 month goal and then a 6 month goal. Um, and they can be a mix of like pain and kind of like oriented goals. Like I want to be able to train consistently with 3 out of 10 or less pain. Um, those we usually kind of save more for like the more short-term goals. And
Sure.
then for the like medium and long-term goals, I usually like to keep those more like performance oriented with solid numbers. That way we can kind of like track it over time. So if you had a goal that you wanted to hit for the end of the first block, at the 3 point mark or 3 month point, and then the 6 month point, what would those be for you, Clive?
Yeah, I I would definitely want to be as close to pain free or you know very mild pain would be awesome for that first 3 month point.
Mhm.
Um and then in terms of that 6 month mark, hopefully at that point being pain free and yeah, I guess I don't expect to be hitting PRs essentially
Mhm.
at that time, but getting close to that, maybe getting right around 85, 90% of where I once was, that would
Mhm.
be my ideal
All right.
goal for sure.
Awesome, man. Love those goals. Um, so yeah, before we actually move on to like the assessment portion, do you have any questions for me about anything we touched upon or like anything else related to the program or coaching or anything like that?
No, no, I really like the thoroughness, and
Mhm.
I'm excited for that program to come through. I'm ready to read it and focus on it.
All right, awesome, man. Before we kind of get into the actual movement assessment portion, I do like to kind of touch on some like educational things, kind of what to expect along this process. When I send that email with the like performance assessing sheet after this call, it'll have a couple of other links as well for you. The first link is a link to a bunch of educational resources that we made about like pain, injuries, training modification, rehab, stuff like that. That way you can go through that stuff, start to learn about how to like modify training around injuries, how to rehab injuries, stuff like that. That way you can kind of like ideally become independent with the stuff after
Sure.
we're done working together. And that information also kind of lays the framework for how I program around injuries, how I rehab injuries. So to give you a good insight into like my thought processes and stuff like that.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah.
as we're going through the actual program and kind of coaching you through it too, like I'll be explaining this stuff in real time so you can see how I'm uh, taking those ideas and principles and applying it to your case. And
Cool.
then the second link will be a link to a like a written explanation I made about how the coaching app works, what check-ins look like, stuff like that, just so you know what to expect. Uh,
Cool.
I do like to kind of cover that stuff on the call briefly, just so if you have any questions, we can kind of get to that before we actually get this process going. So overall, I'm going to start developing this program for you, kind of like we laid out the 4 day per week training structure, a couple like optional rehab mobility stuff. Um, the training will be based upon what we talked about today, like your preferences, goals, all that sort of thing. And then how I design the program overall is typically in 4 week blocks. So week to week in a given training block there probably won't be huge changes in the exercises that you do on like a given day. So your like first full body push day should look similar block or week to week in the block.
Right.
Um, what does mainly change is volume and intensity. Obviously, the first week of the program, we're going to start it off probably a little bit more conservative. I want to make sure that as we're getting into this, we don't like flare things up too much or anything like that. Kind of just see how you respond to this sort of program and training, and then adjust from there and increase or decrease as we see fit. Um, Block to block is usually when there are bigger changes in the exercises on a given day themselves. That being said, if things are going really well, like you're tolerating the training well, not really having flare-ups, pain's kind of coming down, I will still change movements a little bit block to block, but we're not going to like change 100% of the stuff just because
Sure.
if things are working well, I don't want to run the risk of like changing to a bunch of stuff that doesn't have you respond quite as well. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Yep.
Cool. How I go about modifying the main lifts that are like would usually cause your pain, like squatting and hinging, is kind of like based upon a number of variables. So the big things that we tweak are volume and intensity, of course. So the number of sets, the number of reps, the specific like loading of the sets. Um, and then really, we really kind of lean on modifying the range of motion, the tempo, and the variation. Um, those kind of three factors are really good ways for us to um, kind of like constrain the movement and put some guardrails on the process.
Got it.
So, really, the end goal of these modifications is to limit how much training stress and load you're putting on your back as we build you back to closer to 100%. So, for example, like if heavier, kind of like low rep per set barbell squatting would flare up your back pain, we might have you start with something like a slower tempo box squat above parallel with higher reps. So the slow tempos and the higher rep range are going to force you to use less weight on the bar while you're squatting,
Right.
while still getting good training effect and like training hard. And the box will help just kind of limit the range of motion to what is
Yeah.
tolerable by the back. And the goal
Hmm.
is we would progress all that stuff over time. So if we start with like, let's say 303 tempo box squats above parallel, and you're doing those, things are moving along well, then we might switch like a 202 tempo at parallel for a little while, and then maybe just like a slow eccentric below parallel, and then get you back to just regular barbell squatting. And
Cool.
same kind of basic principles apply for hinging and pulling as well. That all makes
Sure.
sense?
Yep.
Cool. Um, Another kind of big thing to talk about is pain during training, obviously. So, our like, especially initial goal, kind of earlier on in the rehab process, is not to necessarily make all of the lifting and all of the rehab work be completely pain-free. Because if we like restrict and modify things down to that level, there is a good chance we might just not be training hard enough to get some of the adaptations and progress that we're looking for, and it
Got
might
it.
just draw things out a lot longer than necessary.
Understood.
So we kind of use a bit of like a traffic light system with regards to pain during training. So pain of like 1 to 3, 1 to 4 out of 10 is what we consider our green light. Like that level of pain is totally fine. You don't need to worry about that. You're not doing any harm. And you can definitely
Sure.
keep on progressing that movement.
Sure.
Pain of like 5 or 6 is our yellow light, and how we respond to that kind of depends upon um, how long that lasts or if it causes like an actual flare up. So if you're doing a training like lift variation or a rehab drill and you're having like 5 out of 10 pain, but it goes away like right after the end of the set or within a couple hours after that training session, that's generally fine. Like as long as you're not concerned with that level of pain, we'll keep that
Hmm.
movement as is, but we
Right.
won't progress it until it starts to get down to that like green light range, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Hmm.
Um, if you have that level of pain, but it stays kind of elevated or flared up for a day or more, then I probably would want to further modify it a little bit to bring it down because you're still probably not doing any like actual harm or like causing like physical tissue damage. But it just might be irritating your back too much to
Yeah.
be as productive as we could otherwise be.
Sure. Okay.
Um, and then if it's definitely like above a six, as long as it's not just like one of those really fluky things where you unrack the weight, get hit with like a 7 out of 10 jolt, and then it goes right away.
Hmm.
If it lasts for any period of time, that's our like red light, and we definitely want to pull back on that to bring it down. That all makes
Got it.
sense?
Yes.
Sweet. Um, so yeah, man, I kind of outlined the program in 4 week blocks like that. That being said, I typically write the program 1 week at a time. That way, as you and I have our check-ins and we communicate throughout that week, I can adjust the plan a lot more quickly than if we had to like go back and rewrite the whole block or anything like that. So you'll see it 1 week at a time, and then based upon our check-ins and communication, that will help me tweak the program, like progress it or modify it for the next week. Cool.
Cool. Yep.
Awesome. Um, The last thing to touch on is kind of like check-ins and communication. How the check-ins work is at the end of the week on Sundays, I have you fill out a little check-in questionnaire directly in the app. So it'll basically show up as like a workout on Sundays, but it's just a list of questions about symptoms, sleep, nutrition, stress levels, what's working, what's not working, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely like this is probably the most important thing. Every Sunday, try to fill that out on time. That
Hmm.
way, on Monday, I can go in, look at the answers that you put in or like your replies to those questions, and then also look at that past week's worth of training data to see how things are going, just keep a high level eye on everything. And
Sure.
then from there, on Monday or either Monday or Tuesday, I will like send you a message directly in the app, and you and I will have a conversation over the course of a day or 2 or 3 days, whatever it needs to be. Um, so that's like the structured check-in. And then if you ever have any questions or need any help, you can message me at any time during the app. So like 7 days a week, feel free to shoot me any questions or concerns that you have. And if you ever have a time sensitive question, then for sure just text me on the number that we've already like talked on,
Sure.
because that's by far the fastest way to reach me. Cool.
Got
Awesome.
it.
And then typically in week 4 of each training block, so like the last week of the block, I do like to schedule kind of like catch up video calls like this, where we can dive into like the block kind of recap in a little bit more detail, and then kind of game plan for the next block in a way that would just be a little bit more convenient than going through like messaging and all that sort of stuff. Sound
Sure.
good?
Yep.
Awesome, man. Um, yeah, that's all that stuff. Any questions for me?
No, no. I got all my questions answered.
All right, sweet. So, like I said, I'll take you through the first part of the movement assessment here on video. And then right after this call, I will send you over the email with the links to those resources and then to the performance testing sheet.
Yep.
I'm going to start working on your program like today. So don't feel like you have to rush to get those performance tests done. If you could get them done by the weekend, that's awesome. If not, whenever you get them done, just let me know. I'll go and look at the results and then I'll probably tweak what I have programmed for you based upon how you do.
Okay.
Sweet.
Cool.
So we're gonna, like I said, kind of do a whole body, like rough movement assessment. So are you in an area where you can move around pretty like freely right now?
Yeah. Let me adjust my camera.
Yeah.
Better view.
All right. So I want to look at kind of like your lower back motion first. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to take you through 4 different movements. For each of these movements, we're going to do about 5 reps. And what I'm looking for is one, I'm obviously looking at like how far you can get into the range of motion. And
Okay.
then two is if you have any pain or symptoms with that movement. Um, if you do, we're still gonna have you go through like all 5 reps, and I want you to let me know if the pain gets better or worse as you're going through the reps. Cool?
Cool.
Sweet. So start with your hands on the sides of your legs, and all you're gonna do is bend down to the right side, like you're sliding that right hand down your right leg. Cool. Go as far as you can within your comfort. Do about 5 reps. Let me know if there's any pain or anything like that, and if it changes. Any issue with that one, Clive?
No issue. just running into my hip a little bit, but no pain.
Okay. All right. Do same thing, but down to the left side. Any difference on that side or pretty similar to the right?
Pretty similar.
Cool.
Yep.
Turn your body 90 degrees to the right or left, so I'm looking at you from the side. And then from here, I want you to put your hands on the front of your quads. And for this one, you're going to round your like spine or back as much as you can and try to touch the ground with your hands. Good. Go down as far as you can. And again, let me know if there's any pain. And then if there is, if it gets better or worse as you go through the reps.
Yeah, so when I first initiate, I can
Mhm.
feel my lower back. And as I continue, just feel tight.
Okay. Does that tightness feel like it's getting more noticeable or less noticeable as you're going through or staying about the same?
Maybe about the same, maybe slightly less noticeable. Like I'm
Okay.
kind of like greasing that joint a little bit.
Okay, cool. After this rep, you're good with that one, but still stay facing the same way. Cool. So last one for the back. I want you to put your hands on your hips, and then I want you to arch backwards as far as you can for me. Any like pain or anything with this one?
No, a little tight in the hip flexors.
Hmm. Okay.
No pain though.
All right, you're good with that one then. For the next one, I want to check out your thoracic spine motion. So I'm gonna have you go on like all fours on the ground, so hands and knees. Could you also put your like camera on the ground?
Can I also, what, I'm sorry?
Just like put the camera or laptop like on the ground facing you.
Got it.
Cool. So go hands and knees kind of facing the camera. And then I want you to sit your butt back so that your butt is on your heels and keep your hands on the ground. Perfect. You can slide your hands back a little bit so they're a little bit more underneath your shoulders. Good. Take one hand, put it on your opposite shoulder, and then without shifting your body side to side, I just want you to pivot around that shoulder like you're opening your chest up to the ceiling above you. Good. Okay. It's looking a little limited there.
Yeah, very.
Switch hands, do the same thing on the opposite side.
All right. Ugh. Yeah, no,
Look,
it's
looks pretty similar. Does it feel similar or feel like
yeah.
noticeably different side to side?
Maybe a little bit harder on the right side.
Okay. All right, solid. I do want to check out shoulder mobility next. Ideally, is there a spot on the wall where you can like um, sit on the floor and have your back fully against the wall?
Yeah,
Okay. And then ideally, once you get like that area cleared out, if you could put the camera set, I'm looking at you from the side, I'll then walk you through the shoulder test from there.
got it. You kind of want to be right here, right?
Yeah,
Against.
that's perfect.
Okay.
And then all you're gonna do, you're gonna sit on the ground and slide your back fully against the wall. And I'm really looking for 3 points of contact against the wall. You can like cross your legs in front of you. That might make it a little bit easier. So sorry, sit like uh with your legs like folded up, like Indian style, I guess is the way to
Oh,
call it.
okay. Like push
Yeah,
through?
yeah, because sometimes your like hamstring flexibility might impact what the
Sure.
result looks like for your shoulder. So I want your lower back, upper back, and then the back of your head against the wall the whole time. And then from here, arms start out in front of you, palms facing the ground. And I want you to raise your arms up overhead. And the important thing is don't cock your wrists back. And I want you to try to touch your forearms to the wall behind you without letting your back arch off the wall. Okay. A little bit of space there, but not too bad.
Yeah, I'll give you a little better view.
Yeah, if you could do that one more time, I'd be able to see it a little bit better. All right. So one more time for me, Clive. Good. Okay. All right, solid. For the next one, we're going to look at shoulder internal and external rotation. So now you're going to keep your arms up at like 90 degrees for your shoulders and the back of your arms against the wall. And then same thing, keep your wrists straight. So don't cock your wrists up or down. Yeah, try to go all the way back, a little bit limited, and then slide or rotate all the way down the other way. Like you're trying to touch your palms to the wall. And don't let your shoulder like jut forward.
Sure.
Okay, that's actually pretty good there. All right, solid. Do you by chance have like a bench and a foam roller in your garage?
I have a foam roller and
Yeah.
a pad, but not an actual bench.
Okay, so nothing you can like sit on with your feet flat on the ground?
Um, I
If not,
could,
it's totally okay. I can do the test I normally do in a seated position with you like lying on your back.
yeah, I have the foam roller. I just don't, I mean, I can access a chair if you need me to just be able to sit.
Yeah, that'd be perfect actually.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
Mhm. No worries. Okay, awesome. And then if you could put the laptop on the ground again for me, that'd be perfect.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna have you grab the foam roller and you're gonna be sitting on the chair facing the camera. And then just put the foam roller like vertically and pinch it kind of between your knees. Perfect. And then all you're gonna do is, if my like forearms are your shins, you're just gonna keep the foam roller pinched between your knees, and then you're gonna rotate your legs out, like you're trying to bring your feet as far away from each other as possible.
Got it.
Okay. A little bit limited both sides, but fairly equal. Okay. Last one for the hips. You can get rid of the chair and foam roller. I'm gonna have you lie on your back with your feet towards the camera. Excuse me. Good. So lie all the way back for me. And then you're just going to take one foot and put it on top of the opposite knee, like you're in a figure four position. Yep. And then slide your heel like all the way up so that your heel is resting on your knee. Yep. Perfect. And then try to let the knee kind of fall down to the ground and just see how I'm just going to look at how close it gets to the floor.
Got it.
Okay. All right. And then switch legs, do the same thing, but with the other side. Okay. All right. And then I have one last like flexibility test for you. Have you ever seen like the ankle mobility test at the wall where you're like kind of half kneeling in front of the wall, you try to touch the wall with your knee?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So slide the laptop kind of like right to the side like you were for the shoulder test. And if you could angle it down so I could see the floor too. Perfect. So it doesn't matter which leg you start with. I'm going to have you get in a half kneeling position on one knee and then the other foot flat. And I want you to take your fist and put it between your like big toe and the wall on that side, just so we can standardize how far away you are between sides.
Sure.
All right. So you can take the fist out there and just don't let the foot move. Keep that
Hmm.
heel down on the ground and just try to touch the wall with your knee. Can do that pretty easily.
Yeah,
All right, slide back like 1 inch for me and then repeat that again.
I got about a little bit of air gap now.
Okay. Switch legs, do the same thing. Start with just one fist width distance, and then if you can easily touch, we'll have you scoot back a little bit and see if there's any big difference side to side.
Easy.
Pretty easy.
Mm,
A little bit of a gap.
little gap, maybe a hair better.
Okay. All right, solid, man. So that's what I want to take you through from like the movement perspective or the mobility perspective. Um, cool with you if I share my screen and kind of walk you through what the performance testing sheet looks like?
Yeah.
All right. Give me 1 second. All right. So here is, can you see my screen pretty well?
Yes.
All right. So this is what the performance testing sheet will look like. Like I said, it's just a Google sheet. That way you can take it with you on your phone to the gym, perform these tests, and not have me like be on camera actively coaching you through like on your laptop or anything like that.
Sure.
How it works is you have the tests on this side. Each of them has a hyperlinked demonstration video so you can see what the test should look like. And there's some notes on this side about just like how I want you to perform the test, and then a little section for you to add the results. Some of them, or many of them, are like side to side difference. And then this one test here is just, there's no like side to side difference, it's just one single test.
Got it.
So basically, just really quick walkthrough of the test. We are first having you start with a single leg hip thrust 10 rep max test. Um, for like loading, you can either use a dumbbell on your hip, a Smith machine, a barbell, whatever is easiest for you to load this up. I want you to find a 10 rep max with each side, but using a 202 tempo. For some of these tests where that you're like actually doing reps, I want you to use a 202 tempo for all the reps.
Hmm.
So lower over 2 second period, lift over 2 second period. So it's a very like smooth, consistent tempo.
Sure.
And we're really just doing that to standardize what the reps actually look like. That way we're not like changing your technique and tempo as you go through and that like messes with the results. Make sense?
Yep.
Cool. So that's obviously looking at like posterior chain performance. And then we have two tests, the bent knee Copenhagen AMRAP and the reverse Copenhagen AMRAP to look at like frontal plane hip performance. So your abductors and adductors. Um, these are just like, again, AMRAPs. So you're doing reps with a 202 tempo for each movement until you can't get a full range of motion rep. And then you stop the test there and log the number of reps that you get. The Sorensen hold endurance is just a direct low back endurance test. So I know you said they don't have a GHD, so there are two ways that you can do this. You can either do it with the 45-degree extension machine, like down at the lowest angle, so it's as close to parallel as possible.
Sure.
Or you can be like on your stomach on a bench, just hooking your feet under the bench and the end of the bench at pelvis level to mimic what it would look like on a GHD.
Got it.
Both those are fine. I'd probably recommend honestly the 45-degree variation instead. And for this one, you're just logging how many seconds you can hold that position for before you start to like round your back a little bit. Make sense?
Yes.
Cool. And the last one is a plank leg lift endurance test. So you're going to be in like a tall plank position, so on your hands and feet. Um, don't let your hips kind of sag down, and all you're gonna do is lift one leg off the floor and hold that position for as many seconds as you can until you like start to sag your hips towards the floor. And
Got it.
that's mainly looking at like anterior core endurance as well as hip flexor endurance too. Sound good?
Got it. Hmm.
Awesome, man. Any question on those tests?
No, no, I've never heard of the Copenhagen test, but I'm sure I'll see in that the links.
Yeah, man, those are surprisingly difficult to do. You might be pretty humbled by those.
Oh, I bet.
Um, but yeah, man. So after this,
Actually,
yeah.
sorry, I did have one other question.
Mhm.
Should I? I I guess you don't necessarily need to see the test. You're just curious about the results itself. I was gonna ask, should I videotape it or just
Yeah,
disregard it?
honestly, if it's not too big of a hassle, videotaping each of the tests would be perfect. That way I
Okay.
can like see for myself what it looks like and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
If it's too big of a hassle, you don't need to, but that would be perfect if you can.
No, I could. I mean, there's a large turf area, and if I go in the morning
Mhm.
tomorrow, there's not gonna be anybody there that I would be intruding on.
Okay.
So
All right, perfect.
yeah.
And then last thing is, do you happen to have any video of like uh any recent-ish like barbell squatting, RDLs, deadlifts, anything like that? If you don't, no big deal.
Not recent, unfortunately.
That's okay. To look at and like help you with lifting technique and all that. Um, as we're going through the process and we like get the program up for you, you can film any set of any exercise and upload it directly to that movement on the app. That way I can see it, give you technical feedback, and kind of help from that angle as well.
Okay, cool.
Awesome, man. So I'll get that email sent your way with the three links and the performance testing and all that. And like you said, feel free to get that done sometime this weekend. I'll start working on your program. And once you're finished with those tests, let me know. I'll go in, check them out, and then tweak any of like the rehab and lifting program that I have for you. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Awesome, man. Any questions about anything that we covered today? I know it's quite a bit, but I want to make sure that everything's clear.
No, I don't think so. In the email you send me, will it have I guess the link to the app that I need to download and
It'll have
or
the link to the explanation of the app. When I go in and I make your profile in TrueCoach, that's the app that I use. You'll get an invitation email. So
got
that
it.
invitation will have a button. I think it takes you to their like web browser version, and there it'll have you add in your like demographic info, make a password, all that. And that's how you'll have like an active profile on it. And then I do recommend going into the App Store and downloading the mobile version of the app.
Sure.
It's just more user friendly. It's not as big of a hassle to, as opposed to like going on your web browser on your phone, going to the like web browser version of it and doing it that way. Sound good?
Sure. Yep.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm gonna work on all that sort of stuff. If you have any other questions that pop up between now and when I get your program up and running, feel free to shoot me a text.
Sounds good.
All right, Clive. Hope you have a good one, man.
All right, you too.
All right,
Thank
I'll
you.
see you.